What is up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the Built on Bitcoin podcast, where we're covering everything going on in the Stacks ecosystem. And this is a This Week in Stacks episode, so we're covering everything that happened in the past 7 days or so. And there wasn't a ton that happened. It's kind of a head-down build period right now. So I'm going to drop a few of the things that did happen, and then I'm going to do a deep dive into kind of the more important or bigger thing that happened this week, which is the Theopetra Whitepaper was officially released. And I dug through a good chunk of it to understand the broad strokes of Theopetra, and I'm going to do my best to lay it out for you in simple terms in this quick 10-minute video. I'll give you everything you need to know on what happened and a little bit about Theopetra. So, first on the list, Muneeb was on Impact Theory with Tom BIlyeu. And if you don't know who Tom BIlyeu is or seen any Impact Theory, it is a fantastic, fantastic show. Tom is a previously exited founder. He co-founded Quest Nutrition, which was trying to build, or they are building, healthy food supplements that you actually want to enjoy. And so they just use better healthy techniques and better quality ingredients to get you better stuff. And he exited that company, had a massive win, and wanted to do something more with his life. And so he built this entire media company that his tagline is, we're building the Disney of the future, but not just on these nice family stories, but on empowering messages. And so that's his whole thesis, is how do we tell empowering messages that actually uplift people? And he's made a big bet about a year and a half ago on Web3. He's huge on NFTs, huge on crypto. Obviously is Ethereum and Polygon first. But having Muneeb on was super interesting. And I've only listened to the first 10 minutes or so, so I'm going to have to for sure circle back and watch that. But Tom BIlyeu and Tim Ferriss, in my mind, are two of the best interviewers out there. So if I had to guess based on his history of watching his episodes, it's a fantastic, fantastic episode. So I'll drop that in the description below, or you can just search it, Muneeb Impact Theory, and it will pop up. You'll see a blue icon on YouTube. Check that one out. Next up, shopping.io allows stacks as payment. So this is a plugin and allows you to shop on sites like Amazon and eBay, and now you can use stacks as payment. So they're trying to be like the crypto processor, like portal, that allows you to use all of your native cryptos on all the biggest sites that you're already visiting. So integration with stacks is huge. Props to that. Next up, Chiente, the amazing co-founder of Alex, was on Bloomberg talking about Bitcoin. And, they never give you enough time on those shows. They're always shorter clips. But it's always great to see Stacks people, obviously, on these huge, huge networks and getting the props they deserve. And as usual, Chiente crushed it. So I'll link that as well if you want to see that. Next up, Hyperchains is on Testnet. Officially, according to a tweet from Tio and Muneeb, Hyperchains are live on Testnet. I'm not sure if we can play with them yet in any way, but that is official as of today. All right, so that's it. That's the bulk of the main news. Now let's jump into Theopetra. They released their white paper, and I'll try and break down the bulk of what Theopetra is. And to start with, the problem they're trying to solve is what we want to kind of let's get the ground foundation laid. So their whole idea is that the housing crisis is out of control. Like, everything is too expensive, especially the young generations. We're getting priced out of homes. Our wages aren't going up fast enough to adjust for it, and so we're just kind of getting screwed. And so one of the ways that they're trying to fix it is through this interesting three-piece kind of like triangle that fits together, and it has different elements that feeds on itself in this like synergistic fashion. And so the first part is what they call T-homes. And T-homes are going to leverage what they're calling alternative housing units across the country that currently can't be purchased as for individual ownership, typically because of zoning laws. But if you buy the property outright and use a synthetic title, and you can still grant full property rights, you can sell them. I think that's the first innovation. And so what they're thinking about doing, and just to give you an idea of the ADU or the alternative housing market, there's roughly 44 million multifamily properties in the U.S., or 31% of properties in the U.S. are multifamily. 9 million roughly is hotel rooms, and there's approximately 1.4 million ADUs, which is accessory dwelling units, and that's like you convert your garage into a place to live. But you can't sell just your garage as a property and still own your main house. You can rent it out, but you can't sell that title of that piece unless you get it rezoned. So what they're doing with T-Homes, and this is a for-profit business, is they're going to buy up properties and then they're going to sell them for a profit under, I believe, and this is where there was some nuance, but I believe that they're holding the title still, but you can then individually sell individual units. So if you take a hotel, for example, they could buy a hotel and then they could individually sell rooms, and you would own that room through this synthetic title. That part was a little murky in my mind, but I believe that's how the system works. So they're going to buy properties and then flip them for a profit. But the benefit here is that because of the way they're structuring this and the other pieces we'll talk about in a little bit, they can offer better rates than the competition. So 2% down is what they're offering, and no loan and title fees. So 0 fees, 2% down, and you're good to go. So that's already like, sign me up. And potentially getting access to alternative houses that have a lower cost of entry and a lot more supply put on the market. Big value add. So that's T-Homes, and that's a for-profit business. Then there's this other piece called Theo, which is a membership access token on Ethereum. And what Theo is going to allow you to do is if you buy Theo and you stake it, you'll get rewarded in additional Theo, but you'll also get priority access to T-Homes. So as they start buying up T-Homes, the people who get to jump to the front of the line to buy those properties will be Theo holders. And they're having different tiers, different lockup periods that will have different percentages. And at the highest tier, if you lock it up for the longest time, you'll actually get rebates in ETH. So you buy an ETH, you get your Theo token, and then you can actually get rewarded in ETH. And that's where the third piece comes in. Where does that ETH rebate come from? The third piece of this triangle, there's T-Homes, there's Theo on Ethereum, and there's REIT, which is REAT, or Real Equity for America Today. And this resides on Stacks. And REIT is a SIP10 token, just like City Coins, and you bring it into life, it becomes minted in the same way that City Coins does, with the Proof of Transfer Lite protocol. And so the REIT protocol, basically you spend your stacks, just like you would trying to mine City Coins, and you'll get the REIT token, and then you can lock that REIT token up and you can get staking rewards, which is perfect. We all understand that. You know, people come in behind you to mine, and you'll get a percentage of those stacks rewards depending on how much REIT you hold. With Theo, you buy Theo on Ethereum, and that money that's made from Theo is converted into stacks and then spent in the REIT protocol as a miner. So that the Theo holders, in some fashion, are miners. And so they spend that, if they win a block, they get the REIT rewards, and the REIT rewards that come from the Theo miners are stacked indefinitely. And those rewards, as they come in, will be then converted back into ETH, and the top holders of Theo will get that as ETH rebates. So interesting loop there. So to jump back into the REIT protocol a little bit, we understand it from City Coins. So they have a 70-30 split. 70 goes to stackers, 30% goes to the city's treasury wallet. Theo is somewhat similar, except it's 80% to stackers, 15% to REIT, the non-profit entity, and then 5% to T Homes, the for-profit entity. And so what that looks like is, you're mining, things are getting dispersed, 5% going to T Homes to buy these alternative housing units and trying to sell them, flip them for a profit. And then the more interesting piece here is that 15%, that REIT nonprofit. And that REIT nonprofit is actually going to buy multifamily apartments as rentals. They're going to continue to let tenants rent as they normally would, and they're going to buy it all in cash. So they'll buy the property, however much it's going to cost, 20 million, 40 million. They'll buy a bunch of apartments, but they'll buy it outright, so they won't carry a mortgage. And tenants will pay as they normally would in USD, no big deal. And the REIT nonprofit entity will pay the expenses, pay garbage, pay water, whatever. And then the excess cash flow will go back in to the REIT protocol as like a flywheel effect that is always acting as a strong miner to then feed the next property. So the first property is bought, that over time people mine REITs, and they gather up enough in that 15% to buy a property. Immediately, a percentage of those cash flows are going to go back into the protocol month after month after month from the tenants. And so that's where you can see 1 becomes 2, and 2 becomes 3, and 3 becomes 4, and these things kind of stack on each other. So that's the basic premise of Theopetra. It's this 3-piece triangle that kind of feeds on each other. You have T Homes, you have Theo on Ethereum, which is a membership priority access token, and then you have REIT, REAT, on Stacks, which is a SIP10 token. And that also funds a lot of the other pieces of T Homes and the multifamily properties. So I did my best to explain that as clearly as possible. If you're watching this on video form, I will have some graphs along the way to help you break it down a little easier. But yeah, I'm excited. I'll drop the description below if you want to deep dive a little further. There's a lot about emission schedules and how they get to different formulas, so you can really get in the weeds with it. But I'm excited. This is one of the projects that I'm most optimistic about. I'm going to partake myself pretty aggressively because I want to see them win. And also, I have an apartment right now. I want to get a house. I want to own some stuff. So, yeah, props to them for releasing their white paper. They've been working hard for months. Props to Muneeb for getting on the BIlyeu show. I love Muneeb, love Tom. Props to Chiente. Hyperchains are coming soon. But yeah, that's this episode of This Week in Stacks. It's also my birthday, so if you're hearing this, show me some belated love on Twitter or wherever, my DMs. Send me some stacks, send me some NFTs, whatever you want. It's your life. But that's it. I love y'all. See you in the next episode. Peace.
Welcome to Built on Bitcoin.
I know that things don't always go your way, but I'll be right here waiting. I've been waiting now. I've been trying to figure out a way to make it out, cause I don't think about everything going wrong in my house.